Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast. Real people doing real deals in real estate and no fake gurus allowed. We bring you the best and the most real estate investors in the space. They'll be showing you the good, the bad, and the ugly of real estate investing. Like, share, subscribe, get notified. It's the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast.
Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today, we have Mr. Brad Mortensen from Phoenix, Arizona, correct?
Yep.
Man, let me ask you a question, Brad. What do they put in the water in Phoenix that there are so many successful guys out there in our lane?
Yeah. I don't know, man. They just, I don't know. We tend to collaborate quite a bit down there. I think that helps a lot. So.
That's the key, huh? Mm-hmm. Collaboration over competition.
Yep.
Something we need to learn in the Houston area and many other cities in the country.
Yep.
So tell me, man, who are you? Like, and I want to go back to where, like, were you born in Phoenix or were you somewhere else? Or how do you end up in Phoenix? Like, tell me a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, so I was born in Phoenix.
Okay.
Then my family moved to New Mexico, then up north in Arizona, and then back down to Gilbert. So I went to high school in Gilbert.
Okay.
Area, Gilbert, Queen Creek. So native to Arizona.
Yeah,
I was in New Mexico when I was 2 for a year, right?
Wow.
So
okay.
The rest of it's all Arizona. Some northern parts for 10 years or so, and then mostly in Gilbert.
So you went to high school in Gilbert. What do you do after that?
So I went and I served a church mission in South America.
Okay.
So I lived in Bolivia and Peru for a couple of years.
Did you ever try the coca leaves in Bolivia?
Leaves, man, they're all over the place there.
Yeah.
I did not.
I have never tried it. So, but that's so the coca leaf is not a drug, is it?
No, it's like a caffeine intake. So you'll see these guys. They have these bags of coca leaves that they carry around in their pockets. They chew them, and it's like tobacco, right? They treat it like that. You'll see them in their lips, and they're just covered.
Wow.
Some crazy stories in Bolivia, but
wow. And so it's like caffeine. And does it have like a side effect, like a bad one, like from the natural leaf? You know, cocaine is different.
Yeah. No, more of just like an addiction. Yeah. So it's not cocaine.
It's a habit.
It's like a tobacco, right? So it's bad in your teeth. You know,
yeah.
Things like that. They lose their teeth and gum disease, stuff like that. They can.
How long were you on that mission for?
I was there for 2 years, and combined between there and Peru.
Wow.
In Lima.
What do you like the best about those countries?
The food.
The food?
Yeah, the food.
Easy to get fat, right?
Oh, seriously. Peru had some good cuisine. You know, Peruvian cuisine is
ceviche.
Papa la huancaína.
Oh, man, Papa la huancaína. So there is a restaurant here in Houston, dude. But tomorrow is our last day. But they have one that's real good.
all the traditional plates. So they got that, and then Bolivia, the views. Like Bolivia's very pretty country, right? And so.
Do you ever go to those places? I don't know if it is Peru or Bolivia. I think it's Peru, Machu Picchu probably.
Machu Picchu's in Peru.
Right.
Bolivia's got El Salar de Uyuni.
Okay.
Which is just the biggest salt flat in the world, right? So just huge.
Yes, that.
Yeah.
How is that? Like I've seen that on YouTube, but I never been to Bolivia or Peru.
Right.
It's on my bucket list at some point.
Awesome. I mean, it's just a white sand, everywhere. They have a hotel made out of salt.
Oh wow.
There that's nobody stays at. It's just more of a museum now.
Right.
But yeah, some really cool stuff. They have a saying between Bolivia and Peru. There's Lago Titicaca.
Yep.
So if you're Bolivian, you say that we got the titty side, they got the caca side.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, and I completely understand.
The opposite for Peruvians.
Wow.
They combat over.
And you learned the language a little bit while you were there, so
yeah, fluent in Spanish. Yep.
Wow. Now, did you learn because I know you were probably door knocking and
learn by immersion.
It's just by immersion, right?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
And when you were there, were you shadowing somebody with experience already, or how did that work?
So my first companion, right? So you do have like a companion that walks and teaches you, where not to go at night, things like that, and the language. And so my first companion was from Medellin, Colombia.
Okay.
Yeah. So this short
spoke Spanish dude, already. Yeah.
Just, super awesome, and he only spoke Spanish.
Wow.
At least that's what I thought until he was leaving, and he's like, actually, I speak English too. So he only spoke Spanish to me for the first 3 months that I was there, just to make me learn it.
Speak Spanish by force.
Right. He's like, you're gonna have to learn this. So
wow, that's crazy. And he kind of like relieved you, right? Or he trained you. And then did you get another companion, and then it was your time to train that companion, or?
Yep.
Okay, so it's a chain.
Yep.
And they go rotating people like.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, so they rotate through. You can level up. You run a district of other missionaries, and then you can run a zone of districts, and so they run it like a company.
Wow, that's good.
Yep.
And then you stay there for 2 years.
Yep.
Then you left.
I left. I came back home. Got into banking. So I was a personal banker.
Like Wells Fargo or something like that.
I was at Wells Fargo for a little bit. Mainly working with construction companies because I spoke Spanish. I worked with a lot of like landscaping companies in the East Valley. Leveled up to a business banker. Only worked with businesses. And then I went over to Chase Bank. I got married. Put my wife through nursing school.
Okay.
And then I was gonna go to school. I took some classes, at a community college out there, on stuff that I was interested in, accounting, business principles. I did communication, personal communication, business communication stuff. So I got a ton of credits, but no degree.
No paperwork.
Yeah. And then by the time my wife was done, where I was going to dedicate, more time to pursuing a degree, I was like, I'm making more money here at the bank than I will after I graduate with,
the degree didn't have any value for more money, basically.
Yeah, and so I ended up stopping, and I got Chase ended up paying for me to get my securities licenses to be a financial advisor. Yep. So I took all the tests. I got my Series 63, 6, 7, life insurance, sold stocks, bonds, mutual funds, left Chase to work for a firm in Scottsdale.
Okay.
So I worked for a financial advisement firm and ran 401k plans for bigger construction companies.
Okay.
Still working with business owners, but running their 401k plans for their employees.
Wow.
And managing that.
Wow. And so then after that,
after that, I was, it was an hour and a half drive to Scottsdale. So I listened to a ton of books, podcasts. I listened to, radio stations.
Right.
There was an ad for, hey, get into real estate. Come join us at a seminar. They had a motivational speaker there, buy, this is a free one. And then now here's our paid one. Come to the paid event.
Right.
Went to a paid event that ended up being with Fortune Builders.
Okay.
Can't remember the name of the guy now.
Dan Merrill.
Yep. So I bought into that, and I was like, hey, I'm good at raising money. I was a financial advisor, banker. I understood kind of the financial industry, and as a banker, I set up a lot of small businesses, startups. How do you register an LLC? How do you build capital?
Yeah, the business side, you had it really, how to get a business started, you had it down to a science pretty much.
Yep. And what I liked about their program was it was focused on flipping.
Yes.
There wasn't so much. There was a little bit of marketing, and they had a whole marketing thing, but I was like, I can go buy, at that time, I could go buy it
from
off the MLS, off the auction, Hubzu, auction.com.
Hubzu, I've got houses there, yeah. We're talking about what, 2014, maybe 15?
Yep, 14, 15 is when I got started in flipping.
Is Hubzu still around?
I haven't bought from them for...
I don't even know.
They had the same code on every door. I don't know if you bought several, and so I had this box of all the Hubzu doors that, locks that I had bought.
Wow.
But I went straight into flipping, and I raised money for that. I had my securities licenses, and so as a fiduciary, you have to
disclose.
You have to disclose and submit your OBA. It's an outside business activity to your broker dealer.
Right.
And so I said, hey, I want to start another business. I'm going to raise money for for real estate deals, and they're like, yeah, you can't do that. And so I said, all right, well,
I'm out.
So I left all my licenses. I spent weeks
studying for them, and those tests are not easy, man.
They're not easy. Those ones are hard. I'm a realtor too,
especially Series 7 and 6. They're
oh yeah, they're beasts, man. So I did that, and I was like, you know what, I'm out. And if it doesn't work out in the next 2 years, I'll be back before my licenses expire. And that was it. So went and bought 4 houses the next month. Just went all in and started flipping.
Wow. So, what year was that?
2015.
15. Mm-hmm. Man, we were doing the same freaking thing. I got laid off in August 2015 from my corporate job. Now, I had been a real estate investor for years already, but I was a passive, like rentals. And then I flipped some on the side. But when I got laid off in August 2015, 16th of August, I'll never forget that day. I used to make money on in the corporate world. I was like $260 a year. So like that's golden handcuffs. Like how do you walk away from that, right? When they gave me all that time now, they say, hey, by the way, we don't need you anymore. You're getting laid off. They gave me a little bit of money to walk away and all that. I was like, man, I just gotta, how do I replace my income? Because I live like a 260 guy, a year kind of guy. I had the big house, cars,
Yeah, you got accustomed to that.
Yeah, that paycheck was always coming in, so I was never worried about a paycheck. I was like, man, how can I replace my income now? And my only way to replace my income was to go buy a bunch of houses. Because if I buy a bunch of houses, I can at least draw a little bit of money from the general contracting side, which I knew how to rehab them. Mm-hmm. But now I have to go build a general contracting practice or business to kind of like fuel that. And that's kind of like how I started scaling big time into flipping. Which is crazy because we have so much in similarities. Mm-hmm. You were telling me earlier that you were doing 40 houses. Mm-hmm. So tell me about, you do the 4 houses the next month, right?
Yep.
And then, how do you went from 4 to like 40?
It was a slowly scaling process, right? So we bought those first 4. I had a realtor buddy. I didn't have my license at the time, right? So at that time I was like, you know what? I just need a realtor to go find me some deals. I'll analyze it, how the coaching had told me to do it. And I have the contracting contacts from my business relationships prior. And so, I had to raise money from some of those investors and said, hey, I'll give you 12%. Just trust me that I'll make this work. So I did my first 4 deals. I barely made any money on those. Like I just took the first offer that came in, off the MLS once we sold it.
You were a motivated seller.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, I'm out. I paid my investors back. All right, let's do this again. And so it kind of just snowballed after that where, those investors kind of raised money for me of, hey, these guys just pay me back in 3 months.
I just made 12%,
Yeah, and so and that rate slowly came down as we got more and more experience. And so it just kind of scaled from there. And every job that we would go do, we'd have 3 general contractors come bid it. And so from keeping that practice through those first, 10, 15 deals, we had this big list of contractors that were like, hey, these guys are actually like calling us back out. And I would reward the job to different ones to see how I like to work with them. And so after that, you just kind of play the game of babysitting contractors of trying to figure out, okay, who do I like working with? Who does a good job? Who keeps my budget in mind, versus theirs? And so it's from there. It's just kind of people management of, okay, I've got you can manage 5 properties, and then you can manage 2. Like you can if I give you 3, you usually fall by it's like a domino effect, right? All of them fall through, and so we kind of built relationships with more and more contractors, and through that, we had lots of learning experiences, I call them, where we lost money on deals, paid our investors and go on to the next one, right? And we just don't use that contractor again. And
right.
For me, it wasn't worth trying to pursue or spend time wasting thoughts or, negative energy towards, all right, a bad deal that happened and it's your fault that, you've mismanaged my project. Just go on to the next one, right? And that was my mindset of, all right, I'm not going to pursue people that might have taken money from jobs.
I'm the same way.
Like that.
I never sue anybody. I'm going to go after. Cut your losses, move on.
Yeah.
So So when did you do 40 houses at the same time? Like what time frame was that?
That was in 2018. 18 was when we had the most going on.
Wow.
We had 5 general contracting companies that were exclusively working with us, each of them doing 5 to 6 projects, and that's kind of where that took off. And it was that year I had one business partner that was running most of that. He got sidetracked on
other stuff
and shiny objects, and some of that was my fault, bringing in like you get comfortable and you're like, all right, we got these rolling, we've got employees, we had this big office, lots of people working for us, and then stuff kind of just started to unravel. We even talked about it a little bit today.
Yeah.
Of just I had time, and so you get distracted in other businesses and things like that.
Yeah, oh yeah, I started like building mining rigs.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna build mining rigs.
Right.
And now because it happened to me too.
Mm-hmm.
We got this major operation running.
Yeah.
We got money flowing. By the way, we're the kids in town that everybody's looking, to model now, because we got this massive operation and we're successful, right? But then all these new things come in, Bitcoin and mining rigs, and we actually started our own mailing company. So because we did mailers strictly, so we had our own printers, our letters and folder, and like all this stuff automated for our operation. Before you know, you're not literally keeping your eye on the price.
Yeah.
But what happened to us was that we got hit by Harvey, the hurricane, and that literally destroyed everything. But that was back in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So 2018 was brutal for us, and in 19. I mean, dude, in 2019, I made close to $2 million, and I was broke. Like sometimes I didn't even have money for gas and things that I'm like, wait a minute, how do you get to this point, right? But it was because we lost, like, as opposed to you had contractors that you were working with. I was the contractor, so all the workers were working for us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on a market like Phoenix, where you don't have hurricanes and things of that nature, no big deal. You're not going to have that threat. Here in Houston, we do, although we hadn't had those for a very long time. So I didn't even account for anything like that happening. So when we had this hurricane it wasn't even the hurricane, it was the flooding that caused by the hurricane that messed up the city. All my guys jumped ship, and I just found myself with a lot of houses, a lot of loans, and not a single person to work on these properties.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how the whole thing started. But yeah, it was. I still look at it and I'm like, man, like we were in a bind, big time, right? And then you had all these other distractions that you have to start cutting off, because now you're like, man, I got a problem I gotta address. That's how I became a wholesaler.
Yep, me too.
No shit.
So yeah, my former business partner, he had started and ran this day trading company. It was what it was. We bought an algorithm and a license to day trade, and he was day trading money and made a ton of money in like the first 2 months. It was like 60% return.
Wow.
Right, using this guy's algorithm that we bought.
Now you can raise money for that too, like, because all these ideas start coming.
Exactly. So I'm like, all right, there's ways that we can do this. And so he was running all my projects, right? And so as soon as his eye turned here, right, and his focus was on this day trading, it was good. We made 60%, but now I got to go try and figure out how to, keep all these contractors in line and make sure they're not stealing, which some of them were.
Yeah.
It's just a mess. And so I was like, hey, I still need your help over here. And as soon as he turned his head this way to come back, this just, we just infused all of our profits from the previous years into this.
Wow.
Because we're looking for passive income, and the idea was to buy rentals and be there eventually. But I was like, man, if we're making 30% a month, like let's put that over there.
That's hard to, yeah.
And so both of us, him and I, put in personal capital and profits from what we've done, and it all tanked.
Wow.
All of it gone, like that. As soon as he came back to focus on this, and ended up causing him to file BK, and he was out of the company. He's like, I'm done. Threw in the towel, and I was like, all right, I got to figure this out. I got to figure out.
We never filed for bankruptcy, even though, like, my business partner Dennis, he also told me, he's like, hey, I'm done. Like, because at the beginning, so this is crazy. At the beginning, I was the flipper. So I was the guy chasing the contractors, making it work. Mm-hmm. And I would literally go there with a leash, like trying to like whiplash all these guys. Like, let's go, right? And projects were happening, like we're pumping things out on the market, like either whether it's a flip or a rental, because we did a lot of flip to rent. Okay. We had a little group going around to where, okay, Brad, I got these 3 houses we just finished, man, and they're ready. We can either sell it or rent it. You want to refinance these things under your name, and we'll partner up on it? And he'll, fuck yeah, like I want to refinance 3 properties I wasn't a part of, Yeah. So we were doing this in between 4 or 5 guys. We were literally quarterbacking properties to each other, but we were all partners on these deals, right? That's how we started We Flip It For You, which used to be a company that we took W-2 guys, said, look, we'll show you how to do all this stuff, but we need to leverage you. Mm-hmm. We want your W-2 and we want your income. You use us, and now we're partners. And it was working beautiful. What happened was, at some point, I outgrew those guys when it came to, I guess, the need for money. I needed more money than they did because they had W-2s. And then I started crossing frictions. They didn't want to scale more. So I had to buy them out of the whole relationship, which, by the way, they end up keeping a lot of great properties. Mm-hmm. But I kept the liabilities moving forward. When I kept the liabilities moving forward, we had already started same as cash with the wholesaling thing, Dennis and I. Dennis was the marketing guy. And he was the guy making sure systems. He's an integrator. He's an engineer. Yeah. I mean, he's a civil engineer, actually. Pretty smart guy. So he made everything work. But he also answered the phone because he's very personable and he's good on the phone and very outgoing. So he did that lead generation stuff, but I was the closer. So I would close all the deals to buy them for We Flip It For You. So same as cash, we'll wholesale to We Flip It For You. And then from here, it'll go somewhere else. So we had a bunch of different tiers, right?
Yeah.
Well, when 2017 happens to us, Dennis comes to me and says, Ricardo, you're better at this marketing stuff than I am. You're a better negotiator. Why don't you go ahead and take over the wholesaling side, and I'll take over the construction side because I'm an engineer. Makes sense. So we swapped, right? And when we swapped, is when Harvey hits. Mm-hmm. So he literally stepped into a hurricane, basically, yeah. Yeah. And he had 50 employees that we have 50 workers on our general contracting company. It used to be called Your Demo Friends. And it was called Your Demo Friends because we started for demolitions around Harvey. And but man, it was taking him way too long to finish houses. It was hard to get and I cannot blame it on him or anybody because right. It was a whole chaos that just happened. And every month I got $250,000 going out on loans.
Right.
I mean, and eventually I don't care how much money you got, man. You start feeling the pain and you're like, ooh, I don't know if I got 3 or 4 more months left on the tank. Yep. Even if you have $1 million, it's gonna go.
Right.
And we found ourselves with more month at the end of our money at some point. And then the conversations with the lenders.
Yeah.
That's the one that we never wanted to have, which if I would have listened to Dennis said from the get-go, from the hurricane, he said, dude, let's just freaking dump it all right now, which is let's just close shop because I don't see how we're going to fix this. Me, I'm more optimistic. I'm like, man, we're figuring it out, bro. We built this thing. Like, we're going to go find something else, build it, blah, blah, blah. And in reality, we pretty much saved, I would say, 60% of those properties. We were able to offload him, no problems. The other 40%, 30 to 40% was a problem because we didn't have money to fix them. They were under the water because they were, they needed more work than what the lenders gave us, actually. But not only that, they lost value because now there's a market correction internally here.
Right.
And we're like having to go borrow more money for it. So it was a chaotic thing, man. And we went through that for like 3 or 4 years, actually, until I still own 2 of those. And long story short, eventually he just got tired. He said, dude, And, you know, when we realized we had to become wholesalers by necessity to get out of that mess, he didn't enjoy that too much. So he said, man, what he told me was like, dude, there's not enough money for both of us right now. You're good at this. You love that. Continue that. I'm going to go do my own thing, like be an engineer and build stuff. So now he's doing awesome. He's doing koi ponds and building them all around Houston. So I've had to buy all his shares on all the companies. He literally gave them to me. I didn't buy them. And then, I inherited all those problems. And yes, they all came with it.
Yep.
But I was like, hey man, I'm gonna man up to it. So it's kind of crazy. Like
that's insane.
Sort of in the same boat, you know?
Yeah. So I was the same thing. Optimistic. Like, all right. I had to have a hard conversation with my wife of, we had a ton of equity in the house, the first house that we bought together, right? We got married, we bought a house, cheap, 2011, put equity into it. Now it's 2018.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, yeah, we've got, tons of equity in here. In order to get out of this, I'm gonna have to sell it, and that's all gone. Like it's gone, or we're filing bankruptcy, like my partner did, and that's it. So
that's something you didn't want to do because you wanted to honor your commitments.
No, and then it's eating humble pie of just saying, hey, I need you to go back to work for a little bit. I got to sell the house that we have this equity in, and we're gonna go rent for a little bit, and then I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna fix
Dude, that's why I live in an apartment today.
Yeah,
I sold my house, literally, like.
Yeah. So we sold our
no
house.
Shit.
And
that's
I was
crazy.
like, hey, if you can go back to work, at least pay, our bills, then I can focus on recovering this. And that was a necessity of going into wholesaling. I'm like, I don't have time to manage contracts. I'm going to clean up the properties that we have and sell those. I got to find new contractors because the other ones filed, bankruptcy. They're out.
Right.
They're gone. I don't know where they're at.
Yeah, everybody was protecting themselves. They moved. They just moved.
Yeah.
They moved somewhere else.
And so, I'm like, all right, I got to go direct to seller. I can't buy from auction anymore. I got to get bigger spreads. And then I got to sell a lot of these to investors to get quick capital. And so that was kind of out of necessity, needing to go figure out marketing and become a sales and marketing company instead of a project management company.
So this is 2018, 3 years ago, when you started exploring that route, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you pick a guy to mentor you through the wholesaling, or you just went and figured it out on your own?
At that point, I had made really good connections, right, throughout because a lot of the wholesalers would sell to me, right, and so they bring me their deals. I knew a lot of them. I had good connections on, either training platforms that they had bought already, and then I went and bought some additional courses for some of the new stuff that was coming out, texting and
the technology,
technology, and the coaches behind that software or white label, whatever it was. So I got courses and to support friends too that were pushing out their
content.
Joined, we had masterminds and that I was already a part of, and I spoke at and about flipping and raising money and
about how to be a big guy.
Yeah. And now I'm like, all right, well now I'm back here and I got to figure out this sales and marketing. It's a different company, and different processes. So
yes. Wow, but that's crazy, and you guys, like, have you wholesaled a house before that, or just strictly flipped it?
Most of it was like double closing. So the only thing that we had done was like wholesale.
Okay.
So we had bought the property. So I was accustomed to buying it, closing on it, and then I would go list it if it didn't need any work. And so auction properties, we would do a lot of that where it was just a broom sweep and list it.
Wow. So how was it when you went and did your first the true wholesale deal? Yeah, after being a big time flipper.
Right. I remember my first one, and it was solo, because my business partner, he did all the, similar to yours, he was good on the phone, the initial one, taking, very charismatic and got along with people. And so he did all the sales when we ever bought from, direct from seller.
Right.
So my first one was through a ringless voicemail, campaign. She responded back via text, and then, I sold it. It was $13,000, completely virtual, never saw it, and sold it in Arizona, but in a place that I didn't ever go to. And that feeling is just kind of like, all right, I can do this.
Yeah, you see, you get $13,000 from something that you didn't have to go visit, you didn't have to beat up on a contractor, you didn't have to raise money for.
Nope.
You know, you didn't have to pay interest these and have all the stress. You didn't like. You're like, man, I don't need to sell my house anymore if I figure this one out on the next time around, right?
Yeah, right.
and I actually sold my house because I was gonna pay for foreclosure, dude. Like I was behind on my own payment, so I was in a situation that I'm used to helping people out. But of course, because I know how to get out of it, I was like, okay, yeah, I guess I can fall behind 6, 7, 8 months and no big deal. They're not gonna kick me out of here. And by the way, the day of the auction, I'll just go file for, BK and I'm good. I just buy 3 more months.
Right.
Dude, that's how low I got.
Yeah.
From after making all kinds of stupid money, right? So, actually, it was actually a great experience now that I look back because I got a story to tell, before I didn't have one. It's kind of hard you go up here and now, like, you just speak on how badass you are, but like, yeah, you have struggles going up, right? But then you go here and then hold on, let me humble myself down a little bit right here. And then you go back up and which is where you are right now, right? So, and I guess we're both still rebuilding back up, but, so you're 13 grand and then you say, man, if I do this 10 times, that's 130 G's right there, right? And what is your risk? Marketing?
Yep.
Right? And then you're like, okay.
I think that was a $200 campaign.
Wow.
With my list included, right? Like,
wow.
Nothing.
And so then from there you started slowly scaling up, or do you go figure it out like how to scale up real fast?
It was slowly scaling, right? And so we had done and dabbled in different marketing schemes throughout, even our flipping side of it. Where we had done direct mail, we had done radio ads, we had done door flyers, bandit signs, that stuff. Texting had just come around, so I was like, all right, I'm going to go all in on this one. I'm going to learn it and master that one. And I had only kept one employee. Everybody else we had let go. Just said, you know what, I'm starting from the ground up, and that was my assistant. And so she's, kind of stayed around, kept everything together as I was going on learning, So I went and did texting first, but it was a slow scale. While I was trying to look for an integrator, right? And I wanted to find somebody to take over and actually implement all of my ideas, right? And
right.
Like I understand direct mail, I understand texting, I understand cold calling.
Right.
Now I just want you to implement one at a time, right? As we grow. And so that's what I did. I kind of tried out, tested a couple people as sales reps to work my leads, to work our system, because I had, my Podio set up. I had everything that I knew everybody else was using, and it was working for them through masterminds. And said, all right, I've got all this set up. I just need the right people now.
Right. And
so that's what I've been searching for until, actually last year I found the right guy to come in and be that integrator.
Clark.
Yep. And so Clark's taken the reins on that this year. Was his first year doing it. He had approached me about 4 months before the end of last year. August of 2020. And
how do you know Clark?
We actually used to play some video games together through my brother-in-law. So
wow.
He's a good, best friend of my brother-in-law.
Okay.
Anyways, so when he used to live here in Arizona, we played some guys' night video games.
Wow.
And so I knew him through that connection, and he moved to California, and I hadn't heard from him, but I knew of his background. He did a lot of stuff like flipping random products on Craigslist, Facebook, and
just
eBay.
An entrepreneur, yeah.
Yeah, just always had that behind him, and he worked for a company that did Google My Business, and so he helped businesses with marketing, things like that. And he approached me and said, hey, I want to get into wholesaling. Could you help me out? I was like, yeah, why don't you try this, he's like, do you charge anything for this? I said, no, I have in the past, but I just want to help you out, and I'll tell you what, just cut me in on your first couple deals. And he was like, just did everything like right. As soon as you the perfect person that you're like, hey,
yeah,
I want to, here's what to do. And he'd go out and do it. Even if he hated it, right. He would just go out, implement it, come back and say, yeah, it worked, and it's like, okay, great. Wow. Do this now. And so he closed, a couple deals and was like, man, I'm going to, I could do this, full time. And I was like, hey, I'd love to try it out and see if it's a good partnership. And so we kind of eased into that because from my previous partnership, I kind of...
Yeah, you're like, I don't know about that, yeah.
I had tried out a couple others that didn't work out, and our personalities didn't clash. We butted heads, and so before I made anything official, it was like a trial period with these guys, and Clark worked out great. So
that's awesome.
And that was the beginning of this year. And we've done the whole traction together. We read books together, kind of go through our thoughts on it, and then I just unload all my ideas and let him kind of
run with
it. And he does great, way better than I
you could probably possibly do. Yeah.
So,
man, that's great to know. So fast forward, right? What's your deal flow right now? Like, I heard you saying you have 30 properties right now.
So we've got 30 on the whiteboard right now, and they're all nationwide. I'd say our two main marketing streams right now are PPC and cold calling.
Right.
Because I have a call center.
Right.
We do a bilingual call
by the way, because we bypassed that whole call center thing, right? How do you, at what point did you say I'm going to build out a call center?
So that was last year when COVID hit, and I was like, you know what, all my eggs are in real estate.
Yes.
I want to develop some passive income for when, if something that were to happen, I want to have diversified income coming in. And so I understood cold calling very well, and I had connections in South America, living there and speaking Spanish. I had connections of people that could build a brick and mortar for us to have reps there.
Right.
And so, all I had to do was provide them the system to do it.
Got it.
So I got an integrator in Mexico.
Okay.
And he runs and operates everything for all of our callers.
Okay.
And that was just the quick and easy, service that I could provide, where I had experience as an investor of how to talk to people, how to train these agents. Right. And, just word of mouth, no marketing. It was easy to raise, bring in an additional $10K a month and
absolutely, yeah, because now you're serving your friends, and I got a cold caller. Yeah, what do you need? Like, okay, here it is, boom.
Yep.
Next thing you know, now you're leveraging someone else. They're making good money because for them in Central and South America, when you pay them in US dollars, that goes way beyond of what they can do, in their own countries. And now, do you have a brick and mortar over there in your call center, or they work from home?
They brick and mortar for the first 6 months.
Okay.
Unless they've had previous experience, in other places, they have to prove it. They have to go on a trial period. They got to provide, show that they have stable internet connection, a stable environment. I don't want chickens in the background, things like that. It's like very audited, first 2 weeks at home.
Right.
For them to be even able to work from home. So
right.
We prefer that they come in and train, and they have a manager walking around and training them. But from that point, then we assign more agents to the work at home, more managers to the work at home callers.
Dude, that's crazy. We do the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Same. Now, for us, it's not calling, it's texting.
Right. Yep.
So they're just pushing buttons, right? And then we do the calling here, but fucking amazing. Like, yeah, I'm just finding this out, guys, by the way. We've been hanging out all day, and the more I talk to you, the more we had in common. But, okay, so you have a call center now. How many people do you have on your call center?
So we have 80 right now.
80
agents. Yeah.
That's a good number.
Yep.
And are you planning on expanding that?
Yeah. Next year. So I've got, the integrators ready. All the processes are there. We've got a sales team, ready to push it. We partner with a lot of gurus that are selling courses and packages. And so we just we bundled a marketing package that came with data and, several months of callers, and they just pay a one-time fee to a coach. And then that coach pays us, for their first 6 months.
So your client is the coach for the most part.
Yep.
You're not literally selling to the guy needing the cold caller.
We do, right?
Yeah, but you get the bulk of your business is your coaches. Mm-hmm. That's good. That's a great strategy. On my end, I'm reverse. So I serve more the guys that need the texters, but it's because they're on my texting platform. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's kind of like an add-on. Like, okay, yeah, I'll find you the VA, no big deal, right?
Yep.
And I only have 30 VAs right now, but I haven't even tried to build that business. Right. And now I'm more purposely looking at that. Like, hold on, wait a minute. I need to build this operation bigger with VAs, even my own acquisitions in these positions needs to go that route because these guys are more efficient than a lot of the other people that have gone through my office here.
Yep.
So good, man. That's great to know. And just to give the audience a little perspective, what's been the biggest month in wholesaling for like you guys? Like when you got the most closings or?
Yeah, actually, last month.
Last month.
Yeah.
What was?
So that was October. We hit 191.
191. Mm-hmm. Congratulations, man. Yep. That's a great number.
Yep.
I asked that question to a lot of people, and for some people it's 50 grand. For some people it's 500 grand. You know. Mm-hmm. But 181, if you do that consistently, that's $2 million a year. And if you're doing your things right, you're keeping 30% of that. You know.
Yep. Well, right now our overhead, like it's just Clark has a VA, I have my assistant, and that's it.
Yeah.
And we don't have an office.
Right.
Looking at it, you know, this is our first year.
Will you go back to an office?
I would like to. I like the office environment. You know, I come here and I see what you guys have, and I'm like, oh man, I kind of miss that. I miss being able to like look across the office, and people come in. You know, I didn't mind people coming into my office and you know, hey, I need help with this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the same way.
You know, because I did everything that they done, and I can do it better.
Right.
for the most part.
Right.
But so I didn't mind helping that side of it, and then you build this, you know, culture, and so I'm all for that, and I think it'd be great to have that. But I also am good at building VA teams, and so so I outsource a lot of that.
Well, you don't need a big office. You just need a space to go and sit down and have your computer with your screens or whatever. Maybe a couple of, you know, artwork and maybe something in there to make the space feel like it's yours. Like in my case, I need this space maybe a little bit bigger for the podcast because this is something I really enjoy. Like, look at what we're doing right now, right? We're exchanging a lot of information. And then I love, you know, sharing with the audience, like, hey, if Brad can do it, you can do it, you know, and having multiple, like on your case, you have multiple lanes now coming up. But then a small other office where you have your desk, and that's it. That's all you really need, you know, that because if your team is like some guys are in Central and South America, then Clark is in San Diego. Maybe he goes to an office over there too that, you know, then the overhead is not all that crazy. I'm a brick and mortar guy, so I've always had to have like, man, I just did an operation in Miami where I had my acquisitions guys there, but I made them go to an office. Like I got an office for them. Like your guys are gonna go to that. But now we're changing that to where he's in Venezuela. So I said, guys, you guys go home. Like we're gonna shut that down. I'm gonna save that money. And then eventually, when this lease is up, I'm downsizing this office. Like because I don't see the need to have such a big space. You know. Yeah. But man, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your journey, dude, and your story. And I can only wait to see what you do in the next few years, man. Because
it's cool to see similarities. You know, you talk to people that are doing great stuff, and you're like, all right, where did this guy come from, right? And so it's cool to.
Yeah, see that. It's crazy, man. It's like almost similar stories. You know, it's just different cities, you know, and different backgrounds and. But yeah, it's so in my mind, it's like mind blowing how two different people. I don't know if you ever met Chris Jefferson. Oh, wait until you meet him. You're gonna feel like he's your brother, like because he had a very similar deal too. Like kind of like same of our timeline. Flips falling out, like it was a whole chaos. And I met him at a mastermind. And when he's talking, I'm looking at him like, dude, you're the brother I didn't know I had, you know, like, because we kind of like went through the same thing, you know. That's how I feel with you now. Yeah. And then we connected, and he said, Ricardo, man, when you were speaking, I was thinking the same thing, and I said, really? So he was supposed to be here this week, but you know, I just didn't call him, honestly. He told me to call him last week, and I was just so busy. But anyhow, guys, don't forget to hit share, like, and subscribe, man. Thank you so much for sharing your journey there, Brad, and. Guys, May 27th and 28th, we're going to have a 10 growth in Houston, Texas. That's one that you don't want to miss. If you missed the last two events that we had for with the real estate entrepreneurs event and mastermind, we're going to have one called Attend Growth. It's all about growing and excelling and going to the next level. So we're going to have an early bird coming up in January 1st. We will be releasing a ticket website with tickets and all that. We'll have great people speaking, going on stage, sharing their journey and what they do and how they're doing it. I'm looking forward to see you there. See you on the next one. Bye.